This presentation is a brief overview of the Arundel County Public Schools process for identifying gifted and talented students. In elementary school, this process occurs in 2nd and 5th grades. In middle school, the process spans both the students' 7th and 8th grade years. You may ask yourself, why do we need to identify students as gifted? We identify these children for several reasons. First, gifted students have unique academic needs that extend beyond the core curriculum and instruction. These needs are addressed through educational decisions regarding their curriculum, pacing, and the learning environment. Secondly, we have a moral responsibility to meet the needs of all of our students, and as such, we must also meet the needs of those who are gifted and advanced. Without support, nurturing, and access to advanced opportunities, these students will not fulfill their potential. Think about a talented athlete. We certainly provide them with the best coaches, programs, and opportunities. We have the same responsibility in education to provide an optimal match between the learner, curriculum, and instruction. All students have the right to an appropriate education. Lastly, we have federal accountability measures and state mandates to identify and serve gifted students. The Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, is the 2015 legislation that revised and reauthorized the federal kindergarten through 12th grade education law known as the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, or ESEA. Prior to the passage of ESSA, the law was referred to as No Child Left Behind. ESSA retained the Javits Gifted and Talented Students Education Program, which was part of the prior ESEA, and added new provisions that address data collection and reporting, use of professional development funds, use of Title I funds, and computer adaptive assessments. ESSA requires states to include student achievement data at each achievement level that is disaggregated by student group. Previously, states provided detailed information for students performing at the proficient level and below. Now, states will also have to include information on students achieving at the advanced level. Additionally, states applying for Title II professional development funds must include information about how they plan to improve the skills of teachers and other school leaders that will enable them to identify gifted and talented students and provide instruction based on the students' needs. In Maryland, local school systems must provide a continuum of programs and services for gifted and talented students beyond those normally provided in the core curriculum. These gifted and talented programs and services must include appropriately differentiated curriculum, utilize evidence-based academic programs and services, and accelerate, extend, and/or enrich instructional content, strategies, and products to demonstrate and apply learning. A gifted and talented student, as defined by Maryland law, is an elementary or secondary student who is identified by professionally qualified individuals as having outstanding talent and performing, or showing the potential for performing, at remarkably high levels of accomplishment when compared to other students, exhibiting high performance capability in intellectual, creative, or artistic areas, possessing an unusual leadership capacity, and/or excelling in a specific academic field. How does our identification process begin? The initial phase of the gifted and talented identification process begins in elementary school with a universal screening of all students in grades 2 and 5. In middle school, the universal screening spans both the students' 7th and 8th grade years. In that effort, we are looking at multiple indicators of potential, aptitude, and achievement. Potential is measured using the MSDE Primary Talent Development Program Cumulative Behavioral Scale and the Renzulli Rating Scales. Aptitude is measured using the Cognitive Abilities Test, or COGAT, which measures verbal, quantitative, and nonverbal reasoning. Achievement is measured using the iReady Diagnostic Assessment, or the Maryland Comprehensive Program Assessment, or MCAP. Assessments vary by grade level. Once identified as gifted in both math and reading, students do not need to be rescreened. We begin looking for potential giftedness in primary students using the MSDE Primary Talent Development Program. This program was designed to develop and nurture the potential of all students, especially children who are from our underrepresented groups. The program emphasizes three essential strategies used in everyday life: analyzing attributes, questioning, and creative problem solving, and develops the 7 thinking behaviors: perceptive, communicative, inquisitive, persistent, creative, resourceful, and leadership. The students' demonstration of their thinking behaviors are documented in paper portfolios of individual student work that travel with them from pre-K to second grade. The portfolios are also used to show growth or change over time, guide instructional decision-making, communicate a broader student profile, and welcome a variety of artifacts from various subjects. To look for potential in intermediate and middle school students, 5th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers will complete the reading and math sections of the scales for rating the behavioral characteristics of superior students. Because second graders have the MSDE Primary Talent Development portfolios, which also document potential, second grade teachers do not need to complete the Renzulli rating scales. Parents also have the opportunity to complete the learning and motivation sections of the scale if necessary. This is not required for every student and will only be completed as needed on an individual basis. To measure achievement, we use adaptive assessments like the iReady diagnostic that are designed to provide teachers with insight into student needs. They rely upon item response theory calibration, meaning that questions become harder or easier as the student answers correctly or incorrectly. They provide national percentile rankings for each child to show how a student performs on a test compared to a nationally normed sample. As a part of the identification process, students in grades 2, 5, 7, and 8 who have not been previously identified as gifted in both math and reading will take the Cognitive Abilities Test, or COGAT. The assessment is composed of 3 batteries: verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and nonverbal reasoning. The verbal reasoning battery of the COGAT contains analogies, sentence completion, and classification subtests. The grade 2 battery is picture-based, while the batteries in grades 5, 7, and 8 are word-based. The quantitative battery consists of 3 subtests that have been adapted for students by expressing quantitative reasoning challenges in engaging and accessible formats. The number analogies test relies on picture-based quantitative concepts for second grade students and numerical representations for 5th, 7th, and 8th grade students. There are 3 subtests for the nonverbal portion of the COGAT for all grade levels. The figure matrices test contains 3 figures in an analogy that students must complete. Some examples of figure matrices include A is to B as C is to D, or A is to B as C is to what. The paper folding test requires students to determine how a folded, hole-punched paper will appear when it is unfolded. The figure classification test presents 3 figures in the stem, and the student chooses the 4th figure that belongs to a set. An assessment timeline is shown here. Most of the assessments and data collection will occur in the fall and winter. Weather or unforeseen events may alter these dates. Once testing is complete, schools receive the results from the Instructional Data Division and/or the Advanced Learner Programs Office. When the process is complete, letters are sent home to parents or guardians informing them of their child's identification and placement for language arts and math for the upcoming school year. Parents may appeal the identification of their child by submitting the GT Identification Appeal Form to the Advanced Learner Programs Office. This form can be found in the GT Identification tab on the AACPS homepage. Thank you for viewing the Gifted and Talented Identification Process presentation. Please contact the ALPS office with specific questions or visit the Advanced Learning Pre-K through 12 website shown here for information about advanced learner services in elementary and middle school.